beautiful, wasn't it? Thank you, Jeff. What a blessing our music is here, isn't it? So wonderful. Thank you. So today we begin our four-part series on the gifts of Christmas and beginning of Advent. The gift of Christmas today, the first one is we have the Advent wreath over there lit. For the first one, the gift of hope or faith. They're interchangeable. In Unity, we say that that Christmas is the time when we become aware of the birth of our Christ consciousness, the awareness that we are one with God, not only one with God, but that we are literally spirit beings ourselves. We become aware that we are the Christ child getting ready to be born into the outer world of awareness. This is not a new idea. We think it originated with the Fillmores or sometime in the 19th or 20th century, but this is a very, very old thought. The 11th century mystic Meister Eckhart wrote, "What good is it to me for the Creator to give birth to His Son if I do not also give birth to Him in my time and culture? What good is it to me if this birth of the divine Son took place but does not take place within myself?" Meister Eckhart was brilliant, and he got into trouble for things like this back then. Who do you think you are to talk like this? We are powerful spiritual beings. That is who we are. We forgot the truth. We have told ourselves we're merely human, that I can't do much about this thing called life. I'm only one person. What can I do? But what did our wonderful elder brother and teacher Jesus tell us? He says, when you are awakened to the realization that you are one with God, great things will happen, and greater things than you see me do. You'll also do the work of healing and prospering and bringing love to yourself and to your family and friends, rather than hatred and discord. You'll begin to live a life of joy rather than one of fear. He told us this over 2,000 years ago, and I think we're finally beginning to awaken. This might be the truth. Did the story of Jesus being born happen the way it was told in the Gospels? Well, of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, only two of them, Matthew and Luke, have the miraculous birth narrative. Only two of them. Mark begins with John the Baptist baptizing the adult Jesus with not a word about his childhood anywhere. And John begins with the idea of the Christ, called the Word, coming from God into physical manifestation. Without any mention of this miracle birth. Now you'd think that if the birth of Jesus was so important, so miraculous, and absolute proof that he was the Son of God, the authors of Mark and John would have mentioned it somewhere. Like, oh, by the way, Jesus was half human and half God, so don't try these miracles at home. You'll just hurt yourself. Only Jesus can do that. Even St. Paul never mentions his supposed extraordinary birth. Paul's are the earliest writings we have of the New Testament. He doesn't even make mention of it. He says, born of a woman. Like, oh, what? That went by pretty quickly. So we can only surmise that Jesus' miraculous conception and early birth story is an allegory. A story to explain the special man that he was. But that doesn't make the story of the Nativity spiritually untrue. There is truth in it, not fact, but there is truth in the birth story. The mythological aspects of the birth narrative is about the birth of your power, your Christ power, here on the planet. And about the Christ awareness that happens to all of us when we tune in to our oneness with our Creator. The created and the Creator are one. There's no separation. That could never be. If you were not one with God, you would not exist. metaphysically or spiritually. Metaphysics is a fancy word for spiritual. Metaphysic, beyond the physical. So spiritually, Mary represents the awakening soul that you are. Mary is the intuitive nature of our being. When we become aware that there's so much more going on within us than merely being a physical human being. The Mary state of being is when we begin to realize, something begins to awaken within us, that I have something in me greater, so much greater than I've ever realized before. The realization that I can be healed, even though the doctors say that's not possible. That I can be happy, even if nobody in my family is. That I can live a life free from debt and worry, no matter what the newscast is saying about where the stock market is, or the possibility of you getting a job today. I can change my life by changing my thinking, by changing my belief system, and aligning myself with the divine idea that life can be good. In the Bible reading we just heard Marla share with us, Mary was visited by an angel, telling her that she was pregnant and the Father was God. The angel Gabriel also tells her that her older cousin Elizabeth, who couldn't conceive, is also pregnant with John the Baptist. The final line the angel tells Mary is, "For with God nothing is impossible." So what does all this mean, this very strange, hallucinatory story that we just heard? Mary, as I shared with you, is our intuitive soul. It's the awakening to the truth of God from within. That there's another way of looking at my life that I've never considered before. An angel is a divine idea, a divine thought that comes from God to our hearts, from within. Angel thoughts are things like, I deserve to have a better life than I have right now. And thinking, this is possible somehow, even though I'm not quite sure how, I know it's possible. An angel thought is, you are valuable and holy to God no matter how anybody else in my life is treating me. That I have a power to be healed, that I have a power to be successful, even if nobody says this is possible in my life. The angel thought is, this is a temporary condition, this challenge, this crisis is temporary, and this too shall pass. An angel thought is a clear and unmistakable truth that glows immediately in our minds. Like, I have an idea. That came from spirit within you. A few years ago, a woman in Connecticut, she was a teacher. She was on her way to work one morning and she didn't feel very well. She thought, well, I probably picked up a bug from one of my kids. She got an angel thought. All of a sudden, there was a light. She said, oh my God, I'm pregnant. She didn't know how she knew that. She just knew that she was pregnant. She said, okay, God, if I'm pregnant, have the fetus knocked 3 times. She amended that. She said, that's kind of ludicrous, isn't it? So, okay, God, give me a sign, any sign, if this is true. At that very moment, a red Mercedes pulled in front of her. She looked at the license plate and said, Mommy. Later that day, she went to the doctor to find out what was going on, and she surprised the nurse by telling the nurse before she even said anything, she says, I'm pregnant. And the nurse said, we just got the test results back. How did you know? She says, oh, I know. I'm a mommy. A couple of years later, she, her husband, and their little boy were driving in the car, and she said to her husband, do you think maybe I hallucinated? That whole episode about the car pulling in front of me with Mommy on the plate. At that very moment, the same car pulled in front of her with Mommy. And her husband said, oh yeah, you imagined the whole thing. There it is. Another angel moment happened a few years ago to a rabbi in New York. He was having pains in his chest. He called his doctor immediately, and when a woman answered, he said, can I speak to the doctor? His doctor told him to get to the hospital quickly, and he would be there very soon. But before getting off the phone, the doctor said, well, I got to ask, how did you know I was here? He says, I didn't tell anybody I was here. This was before cell phones. And the rabbi said, you're not in your office? And the doctor said, no, I'm an emergency call a few blocks away from the office. The rabbi said, but I dialed your office number. The doctor looked at the phone number where he was, and he saw it was the same number, except the last number was one digit off from his number. The rabbi had inadvertently dialed the wrong number. Literally dialed the wrong number, which turned out to be the right number. Later, the rabbi was told that it was only because he had reached the doctor in time that he was alive at that moment. I had my own angel moment about 30 years ago. Before I found Unity, I was an actor in New York, and I was walking uptown I lived in Chelsea, which is just above Greenwich Village. And I was walking up 7th Avenue on Sunday morning. It was very quiet, no cars around anywhere. And as I was walking uptown to meet friends for brunch, I went to the corner and I was about to cross the street, and I felt something stop me. Literally, it felt like an invisible wall or a hand or something. And I thought, this is very strange. Since I hadn't smoked anything for days at that point, or put anything up my nose in a week. I thought, this is very weird. And as I began to cross again, it happened very quickly. As I began to cross again, a little car ran around the corner and brushed my pants. If I had stepped off at that moment, I would not be here today. But there was a definite stopping of me, and I actually felt this strong energy stop me. That was my angel moment, the first of many that I've had since. So yeah, angels, people say, well, what do you really believe about angels? Is it just metaphysical? My own belief is that we do have guides and angels. I literally met mine first on 7th Avenue and 20th Street in Chelsea. So I do know this is the case. In counseling, sometimes I've called upon angels to help out, and this one woman in New York who hadn't lifted her arm for 10 years, all of a sudden her arm went up. So there's something there. We do have help within and around us. So the angel Gabriel says to Mary, well, guess what? You're pregnant. You've been chosen to give birth to the Son of God. His name will be Jesus. He'll be King of Kings. He'll reign over all people forevermore. What would you say to that? Oh my God, how cool is that? What wonderful news. I accept my good. Thanks. No, Mary's response was, well, I can't see that happening because I'm a virgin. How's that going to work? And Gabriel said, well, here's the thing. You might want to sit down for this. God is going to impregnate you himself. And Mary said, okay. Then, of course, Mary had to explain to her fiancé, Joseph, you're not going to believe this. I'm having a baby, but it's God's, okay? We're good. And Joseph was not happy with that news until he also had a dream, and the angel said, it's cool, she's right. Now, if there are a few problems with this story, is that literally this doesn't happen. This just would not have happened. So the first problem we have is that in the whole of human history, we haven't had one case of spontaneous auto-conception. Whoop, oh, look at that. Look what happened. It just happened. No, never. It has never, ever happened. For any teaching to be acceptable, there has to be some modicum of reasonability to it. Throughout history, there have been many savior stories. Every culture has one of a miraculous birth/conception element in the story. Back thousands of years ago, for a great teacher or savior to have any credence at all, he or she had to have had an extraordinary or superhuman component to his or her birth and life. If your arrival to the planet wasn't incredible, you were not believed to be special. For example, Matthew had to prove that Jesus was more powerful and more important than Moses. So everything that Matthew had Jesus do in his gospel was to up one Moses. For example, Moses had the 10 commandments. Jesus had the one great commandment. Oh, snap. You did better. Moses parted the sea. What did Jesus do? He walked on it. Ha. Moses was found in a river, but Jesus was born in a barn. Oh. And he had gifts brought to him. Wow. So everything that Jesus did was one better than Moses, because he had to prove to the Jewish community at the time, this guy is the real deal. Luke was writing for a Gentile audience who was raised on and influenced by Greek gods and others endowed with supernatural powers. So his Jesus looked like Hercules a little bit, with a little bit of Apollo's healing thrown in, but he was more like Zeus taking human form and then leaving after 33 years to go back to heaven. These stories have to be seen as mythological and allegorical for our inner lives, that they're representative of an inner working for them to make sense at all in 2017. For example, we've known since the late 1700s that the male spermatozoa is not a little person. Back then they thought the person was tiny, 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 and that the woman was simply an incubator. That you didn't really have much to do with it except for carry this little person around until it was ready to come out. But we know after 1700s that a person needs both male and female cells to grow. They didn't know that back then. So the idea that God could put a little person in Mary is like, okay, that's cool. But we know different now. Spirit does not go against the natural order of divine law, so God would not have impregnated Mary because it's against God's law. It also makes a mockery of the truth of what Jesus said when he said, that which I can do and do, you will as well, when you are aware of who you are. If not, we go, oh, please, you're God. Why can't you raise the dead? Or turn water into wine, or heal the sick, or get a gold coin out of somebody's mouth, or a fish's mouth. For God's sake, you're God. This is easy for you. But Jesus was fully divine and fully human, just like all of us. We are essentially human, and we are having divine, and we're having a human adventure on the planet. Jesus realized that he was in human form, but the form was not his ultimate reality. Again, he was a spiritual being, a child of God, endowed with all the powers of God within him, and so are you, so are all of us. Like Mary, today we're discovering a divine idea right now. In this time of Christmas, of Advent, we are discovering we're pregnant. All of us are pregnant with a divine idea waiting to burst forth. You're pregnant today with the power of the Christ mind, the Christ heart. As Paul revealed in Scripture, Christ in you as you, your hope of glory. In unity, we define the Christ mind, again, as God within. It's not a little Jesus running around. Some people still have that idea, even if you've been in unity for a long time. It's not Jesus. Jesus was the personality. Christ is the energy of your individualization of spirit. You are pregnant today with the seed of all the good you've ever been dreaming about, but think, this can't happen because of this, because of this, because of this. Everything you've ever been dreaming is a God dream. Therefore, it can come into fruition when you let go and let God reveal how. All that you've been desperately wanting to come into your life, but hasn't so far because the knowledge, because of the understanding that you have all that you need right here, right now is not fully realized. There's nothing outside of ourselves to get. Everything is right here. Remember, Mary didn't immediately accept the truth when Gabriel said, you're going to give birth to the Christ. She said, how can that be? I don't have a husband. She was doubting the divine thought that was being revealed to her. She was arguing with God. How many of us do that? I do. I always argue with God. Now, the goal is to make it shorter. Okay, God, okay, fine. I got it. You know how. But we say, how can this be? The doctor says healing is impossible. But then I heard on Sunday morning, I heard Paul, I heard somebody else say, healing is possible because it comes from God. My bank account says I don't have anything. But we are prosperous beings. We live, move, and have our being in prosperity itself. I haven't met anybody in this state who is marriage material. I guess I'll have to move to Oregon. Because they're all in Oregon, you understand. Or I hear Canadians are there. Let's go to British Columbia, maybe there. I just can't afford a house on the east side. There are no houses available for me on the east side. Together? I own one. You are one. Yes, you are. I'll never find peace of mind with the way my life is going. These are all lies. They're not the truth of you. The truth of the Christmas story is you are pregnant with all possibility. And they all have their answers in God, in the Christ within that is now moving out from here into your world. You know, the root of the word pregnant is from the Latin word gen, meaning before birth. From such root words we have generation, generate, gentrification, and the word genius. Genius originally meant the god of procreation. And it evolved to meaning having exceptional intellectual or creative powers. But it all began with the birth of the divine idea within. So when we let God within come into full power, here first, coming outward, when we become aware that we are a fully functioning divine being with the powers to create our lives exactly the way we'd like to have them, then you will be a genius at living your life. We all know that pregnant women need to follow a very careful program to make sure the baby is going to be healthy and strong. We as evolving spiritual beings, nurturing the Christ within, have to do the same thing. The season of preparation we call Advent begins today. The 4-point program we're going to be following for the month to ensure a perfect birth will be to hold to the truth that our good is already here. It's nothing I'm going to have to look for. I have to acknowledge it's already here. Now, what's the next step? So the first step is to become faith-filled, to let hope take hold. And next week we're going to look at peace and then love and joy. And know these are the tools we're going to build on to allow our lives to become what we want them to be. So this week I invite you to meditate on hope, faith. Whatever word works for you, it's the same thing. Faith is the perceiving power that we naturally have as spiritual beings. A power that sees the good already before it becomes manifest physically. We feel faith within first. We know, we get this sense, this is absolutely right for me. Faith is innate. It is built into you. It says healing is possible, prosperity is possible, success is possible. Peace in my life is possible. Letting go of depression and anxiety is possible. Having a joyful, creative, and successful life is not only possible, but it is moving right now. I don't know the details of how. How is not up to me, as we know. But I know that God is revealing it to me. Hope is alive and activated in me right now. I am faithful. I am joyful. I am grateful. And these help that good move forward. Faith isn't like money, as in how can I get more money? We have all the faith we're ever going to have. Faith is like a muscle. If you don't go to the gym, you're not going to get more muscle. You don't go to the gym and immediately try to pick up a 100-pound weight. We build into our faith little by little by little. Every step we take in faith gives us hope and courage for the next step. Think about how God has worked into your life at this point already. There are many things that have come forth. We didn't know how it was going to happen. Did you know how you were going to meet your mate? No, it happened the way it was going to happen. God has always been there for you, and God will always be there for you, but we have to awaken to know the truth and say, all right, God, I can't wait to see how you're going to work this one out. Go to our gut and know we're being guided. The signs will be there. Take a breath. Let go. Breathe in again. Doesn't that feel good? So whatever you came in with, whatever, it's like, why is this not coming forth in my life yet? Just know it is. But our job is to be grateful first, to be faith-filled that it's already here, to know that God is already working. God's got this. That's one of our favorite affirmations. God's got this. God in me, created me, knows what to do. So I now let God reveal step by step, day by day, what my job is to do. And by the end of the month, we will have this wonderful expression of this God self that we are. So take another breath, and as we turn within in meditation and prayer and turn this all over to Spirit, we begin by singing our new meditation song, Lead Me to the Light. Lead me to the light, help me make it through, lead me to the light. Lead me to the light. Lead me to the light. Help me to make it through. Lead me into the light. Make my eyes to see all that I could be. Help me to see it through. Lead me into the light. And now a little quieter. Help me to be with you. Lead me into the light. Breathe in that light into your heart, into every cell, every tissue, every atom of your being. Our great teacher said, "You are the light of the world." How have we been diminishing that? We've been diminishing our light by diminishing our divinity. By saying, I'm merely human, I can't do this. There's no way out of this. My life will always be this. That is not the truth of a child of God. We are created powerful, light-filled, joy-filled, faith-filled. We are created to be strong and whole, to be prosperous and successful. That's the truth of who we are. And in the season of Advent, we come into a new awareness that God is here, God is at work. That something is being born in me again and again and again. And that is the awareness that I am divine. I am sacred. I am holy. Not merely human. Human is the adventure I'm going through. Divine is who I am. Breathe that in. Let go. And let Spirit reveal this truth. Don't try to make it true. See it as true. Let your heart reveal, this is the truth of my life. Today we focus on faith. We have faith that God is here, that God is at work. That what God can do, God is already doing. That energy is already moving, taking hold, and moving into my outer world. But God needs our permission to do so. The permission comes by stopping negative words, life-denying words, and taking a hold of the truth. I invite you to go through your mind and body, do a mental scan. Where am I holding untruth? Where am I holding pain or discomfort? Where am I holding anxiety or fear? Breathe light into that area. And quietly affirm, I have faith that my body is strong and whole. I have faith that my body is strong and whole. Spirit is leading us exactly to what we need to do for this to be the case. What changes do I need to make in my life for divine life to flow even more powerfully? What do I need to let go of so God can do God's work? I have faith that my body is strong and whole. I did not come to the planet to suffer, to be without, to long for something that seems so far away. The truth is, I am a prosperous creation of spirit, and I was born to succeed. That is a divine idea. God's way is not necessarily my way. The divine idea of God for success, for abundance, for all good is being made known to my conscious mind right now. I quietly affirm, I have faith that I am successful, happy, and prosperous. I have faith that I am successful, happy, and prosperous. Breathe that truth in. Say yes to that truth today. And it will appear sooner than later. I have faith that my life overflows with only good. I have faith that my life overflows with only good. In the silence of our being, just for a few moments, we allow Spirit to reveal this truth. Not from my own brain, not from my own thoughts, but from divine thoughts that are, in truth, me. Breathe in and let go. I have faith that I am whole and well, prosperous and successful, guided perfectly to the right answers in my life. As we bring our sense of awareness back into this room, and this body, we sing, oh my God, how I love you. My God. Oh my God, how I love you. How I love you. How I love you. Oh my God, how I love you. How I love you, my God. God, 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 how I love you. How I love you. How I love you. God, 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 how I love you. How I love you, my